Now batting for the Phillies, number 12.
Phillies on top.
But this club just does not die.
He's under it. He's got it. And the game is over. Hoskins swung on, crushed, and the Phillies are going to lead it 4-0. Just a towering fly ball to straightaway left. Schwarber was ready. Bryce Harper has put the Phillies on top.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Phrankly Phils here at the AAT Sports Network. I am your host, Adam Mack. As always, on Tuesdays, it is all about the Phillies. We're going to forget about that little mix-up where I was hitting the wrong intro button, then I hit it, and then I hit the wrong one. We're going to excuse that, but, just like the actual Phillies, we all make mistakes, and, we're actually getting our shit together here at Phrankly Phils. And just like the Phillies, they're getting their act too, except Alec Bohm just had a bonehead play, bounced the ball right off of Sir Anthony Dominguez, and now man second and third, one out, top 7, 5-3 Phils. But we're gonna talk some Phillies baseball. We're gonna talk about the recent losing streak, unfortunately. We're also gonna talk about looking ahead, talk a little bit about the minors. We're going down the minor leagues for the Fightins. They made some roster changes, starting with the low A ball all the way up to Triple A. Probably some other moves and just some other guys that are playing really good baseball down the minors. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. But let's just kind of get into it. The Phillies, 6 game, I believe. I think it was 6 games, 7. Yeah, 6 games, 6-game losing streak. Finally came to an end Sunday. Great. Phillies collapse is beginning now. Bases loaded, 1 out, top 7, up 2, but the losing streak's finally to an end. The Sunday night baseball game, a little bit of rocky start from Bailey Falter to start. Offense had a little bit of a rally mid-game to try to come back. Unfortunately, that rally just wasn't enough for the club. But looking ahead to the Dodgers game, we got outscored 36-11. Absolutely abysmal performance. Multiple games where we had a position player on the mound. Just an absolute abysmal performance. Unfortunately, the hitting and the pitching, just both of them had one of those series where neither one could come along, and unfortunately we're missing out on it. But Phillies are back. Look ahead. Let's go back. Sunday's game. Man, it was the two biggest players. I think a lot of people have been giving kind of a hard time with has been, for pitching wise, Taijuan Walker. Obviously signed a big contract here this offseason. I think Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber's been struggling in the leadoff position. Fortunately, he doesn't get much of a say. Assuming he doesn't get much of a say in that situation, but Schwarber, was moved to the 5-hole right behind Castellanos. Obviously, Thompson made that decision to put Stott at the 1, Turner at 2, Harper at 3, Castellanos at 4, Schwarber at 5, which I think is going to be. What do they make the call stands? Great. This is when the Phillies collapse. We'll get into today's game in a second, but we'll just finish off this losing streak. Schwarber comes together. He's more confident in the 5-hole. I think that's the better placement for him. He didn't do awful last year in the postseason as the leadoff guy. So Anthony's coming out. Make sure you guys are always drinking a beer when you're watching my shows or just watching sports. Makes you feel a lot better about what you're watching right now. But, Schwarber's kind of feeling more like himself. It's still going to take a couple more games to kind of get fully used to that 5-hole spot, the kind of situations he's going to be in. Hopefully once Harper moves to first base and it opens that DH spot, moving Schwarber to the DH spot I think is going to be the way to go. He's not a great fielder, not a bad fielder, doesn't have the great arm, doesn't have great speed out there, which you're going to want in left field, especially in Citizens Bank Park. The field's just kind of oddly shaped. But I think that'd be the right move for him. Who's going to take that left field spot behind him? Got three guys I think are going to be in contention for it. Dalton Guthrie, who's currently in the club right now. Jake Cave, who everyone knows was the primary left fielder while Harper was out, and Schwarber was the DH, and then Simone Muzziotti, the Phillies' 10th rated prospect, lighting up in AAA, and we'll get more in depth to this in the minor leagues segment of the show, but he's been lighting up in AAA, so I think it's going to probably be between Muzziotti, Guthrie, and Jake Cave for that last spot. So we'll see what happens there. Hold up. But the losing streak finally came to an end. We can focus a little bit on tonight's game and just everything that kind of came into play for the squad. We'll just start with the big one. I've been really, really, really hard on this guy, Aaron Nola. People want to count him as an ace. I don't think he's at that level. My boy Chip said it best. He's consistent at being inconsistent. You get incredible starts out of him like today. 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 6 strikeouts, 2 walks. Absolutely. It's the perfect performance of what we needed for this lineup. But then he has starts like he did on opening day where he gives up 5 earned runs in just 1 inning. So I want to see more games like this. We need him to get to the 6th, 7th innings. He's really been struggling to get past the 5th, sometimes even 4th inning. The thing I'm noticing about him, and I'm seeing a lot about our Phillies pitchers, is they're having a really, really, really difficult time pitching out of jams. They're getting 1 runner, 2 runners on either by a hit, a walk, whatever it may be, and they're completely breaking down. They're trying to do too much. They're focusing on that runner too much. Letting breaking balls hang over the plate way too much. So the one thing that I think they really need to start doing is really focusing on what their job is and what their role is. And now that the kind of lineup has been set in stone, we're going to probably see more consistent lineups, more consistent bullpen sessions. I really hope we can see that this team really needs to focus on what their specific role is and really focus on not doing too much, because anytime they do too much is we see games like the Dodgers series where we're getting outscored by double digits. We're pitching's awful. We're throwing position players on because our bullpen is just super, super sloppy. Our hitting's gone cold. If we can just focus on just 1 inning at a time, 1 at bat at a time, regardless if you're hitting or in the field, I think we'll see a lot better baseball. So I'm hoping we see that out of the team today. No, they're in a bit of a jam. Not sure who's coming in. Gregory Soto's coming in now. So we got 2 outs, bases loaded for the team. This is kind of what I'm talking about. He knows the role he needs to get in. He needs to get out of this inning unscathed. Don't worry about what's on base right now. Don't worry about what Sir Anthony just did. Don't worry about the error on Alec Bohm. Really just focus on what you need to do. And I think this team is going to be much better down the road. I think the big difference between Joe Girardi and Rob Thompson last year was everyone under Rob Thompson knew their role. And I think the big issue with everyone this year is all the different lineup changes, all the different calls to the bullpen. And I think the big thing is it's a new team from last year, so we're trying to figure out what those roles are within the club right now. So I think once this team understands what their roles are, we see a more consistent lineup. Even though there will be a couple more changes with Harper moving over to first, we're getting to understand this lineup a lot better. Man, I'm talking a lot tonight. Ooh. So one thing with this club right now. So I'm hoping, let's see. All right, so he's let 1 run in. What was it? Hit by pitch. Shit happens with that one, but the big thing is keep the lead. Get out of this jam hopefully with the lead. This is gonna be the big thing for Soto right now. But overall with this team, I want to just bring up a stat and just kind of some news I've been hearing with everybody is everyone wants they're calling this year a wash already. They're fed up. They want to throw in the towel. I think a lot of people are overhype this team just a little bit. They're a good baseball team. Don't get me wrong. You have the star power and Harper and Trey Turner. You have some big name players in Schwarber, Castellanos, JT. You have a lot of really young guys. You got Bohm, you got Marsh, you got Stott. And then you look at the pitching. You got two veteran guys, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola. Then you have a bunch of young guys. Andrew Bellotti, not even Matt Stram, he's 31, but new to this team, new to starting. Bailey Falter. Then you go to the bullpen. The bullpen's really come together. You have a mix of, up and coming stars and out of the bullpen and Jose Alvarado, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and kind of some of the veteran guys and Gregory Soto and Craig Kimbrell. I don't even know where I was going with this statement. This is why I shouldn't do these shows alone. But just looking at this team right now, I think really what they need to focus on is just one inning at a time with this club and just understanding their role. I think with more consistent lineups now, we're going to start to see that. Bearing any major set injuries with anybody, kind of keep an eye on Schwarber. He fouled a ball off his left foot. He did exit the game. Dalton Guthrie entered in left field. So thing to monitor there for the club and just keep an eye on that. But we really got to focus on, the team that we're watching every day now is going to be the team for the future. Obviously, you should pick up some guys, but this is now the time to understand what each other's roles are. Stott's going to be an on-base guy. He's not a power hitter. Turner's going to be that guy to, get on base, move Stott over, and then you have Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber, back-to-back guys that can, are going to be able to score Stott and Turner. And with Turner's speed, a double down the right field line scoring them. Just with his incredible speed, Bryson Stott's been able to pick up his speed a lot more. So I think the consistent lineups right now, Thompson's kind of getting a little bit more comfortable and more trusting of his lineups. And I think we're really going to start seeing that. And we get to move guys who are primarily bench guys, Josh Harrison, back to the bench where they're more useful for this team and a better role for them. But I guess the only other major addition this team is, or subtraction this team has right now, is Christian Pache, who when we first acquired him before opening day, it was, we're bringing him in for his defensive glove. And then that first week, his bat was just, he couldn't hit the side of a wall if he tried. But now he turned into be a really, really reliable hitter, batting 300 in the last 3-4 weeks that he was playing. So unfortunately, that injury, it sucks. It's part of the game, but hopefully you can get him back in before the All-Star break, possibly. It'll be a real big boost to kind of possibly even put him over at left field. Move a guy like Jake Cave, Dalton Guthrie, Simone Muzziotti back down to AAA. Kind of let them develop a little bit more before calling them back up to play every day at the MLB level. Man, make sure you always drink. I was gonna drink England because Phillies, but I'm gonna go with the Summer Sandy tonight. It's gonna be the move, but we're just gonna kind of go through it. Some other kind of interesting topics and just kind of debate items I've been listening to. One thing part of all these Facebook groups, Phillies fan Facebook groups, and let me tell you, man, there are some of them that are just absolutely entertaining. Just of some of the pure stupidity from these comments that we're getting. I'm just gonna read some. I'm not gonna say names because that would be embarrassing. They might watch the show, and if you hear your comment on the show, just know it was a bad take. And I'll be the first to admit my bad takes. But there was one where they said the Phillies should consider trading Harper, Castellanos, and JT Realmuto all to the Orioles for some of their young prospects. I don't know how worse of a take that could have been. You have Bryce Harper, who 2 years ago was a league MVP. Last year was a league NLCS MVP, perennial All-Star, perennial Silver Slugger award winner. And they wanted to trade him to get some younger guys, bearing Harper's still only 30 years old. You really want to trade Bryce Harper when he's still well in his prime and wants to win a World Series more than anything for the city of Philadelphia? And I'm not just saying this because I'm repping the Bryce Harper jersey this year. I think that was just okay. You want to move Castellanos? Okay, we can discuss that. If he continues to struggle, or if this team just tanks, go right ahead. We can discuss that at a later date. Okay, JT. Okay, for as much praise as I just gave Harper, one of the hardest things to get in baseball is to get a good catcher. Not just a good you can get players like Harper who can play different positions, can play different positions in the outfield, can play the DH spot very well. It's very hard to train someone to be a catcher. Especially in the infield. Stott moved over to second very, very well. Bone moved over to first very, very well. Guys like Sosa can play third, short, or second. Guys in the outfield, put Castellanos. He could probably play center. Harper played center field for a little bit at one point. Schwarber can play right field. He can play center field. I wouldn't put him there, but he can play all these positions. We have one of the best catchers in all of baseball. And this person suggested we trade the best catcher in baseball. So he wants to trade our two-time MVP, our National League Championship Series MVP, and the best catcher in baseball. Now, eventually, JT is going to have to be transitioned over to a first baseman just for durability. He's obviously a very great defensive guy. He's a good hitter, really, really solid hitter. Not the most dominant, not the most powerful hitter, but can get on base, decent speed. A guy he reminds me a lot of Mike Napoli. Mike Napoli was a long-time catcher down with the Texas Rangers, but towards, injuries and just durability, transitioned over to first base and a DH. Won a World Series with the Red Sox, won the pennant with the Indians in 2016. JT is going to be a guy like that to extend his career, probably another 6-7 years. But his knees are just not going to give up. He's not going to play at that defensive level for forever. But for right now, he's the best catcher in baseball. Don't run on the best catcher in baseball. I think it was Sunday. Sunday's game against the Red Sox. Just a beauty of a throw. He can do it from standing up. He can do it from crouching positions. He's still a reliable hitter, regardless of where he is in the lineup. That's, I think, the best part about him. He's hit in different parts of the lineup. He's hit as high as second, hit as low as 8, and he's still going to produce very, very well. Decent speed. So if he gets on second, I think he might still also be leading the team in steals, which, if that's the case, shows you how aggressive of a hitter he is. Stolen bases. Yeah, he leads the team with 5 stolen bases, so he's aggressive on the base pass. He has really decent speed. So I think durability-wise, we're eventually down the road. This is going to be a 5-6 year time frame, bearing any major injuries. That's when you kind of move Real Muto over to first base. But that was one of the worst takes. It just everyone. It's weird that you go on Facebook, you go on these fan groups, and everybody thinks they're like a major league manager. It's amazing. Yeah, I'm not going to say Rob Thompson's been a perfect manager. I'm not going to say he's been electric. He's definitely taken a step back from what he did last year. He's kind of working a little bit like Joe Girardi. We talked a little bit about this earlier in the show. Is Joe Girardi, his big downfall is, and we heard this when I had Mickey Morandini on the show. No one knew their roles with Joe Girardi. But right now, when Thompson took over it, everyone knew the role. And right now, frankly, I don't think anyone else really knows their role right now. But fortunately, they're kind of getting their acts together. And I just completely missed a whole inning, man. Someone wants to let me know how the Phillies did in the bottom of the 7th. That would be solid. But now it's top 8, 5-4 Phils. Connor Brogdon's on the mound for the club. He's been struggling a little bit. But we'll get into kind of some different guys regarding that. But let's get into the talk about a little bit the minor leagues a little bit, but one thing I'm noticing is that we're at that kind of point where we have some moves that can be made, especially in our bullpen and our pitching. We have a lot of really, really young guys, but we're gonna kind of just start the Phillies. Phillies pipeline. Let's just start at the top, kind of go down, pick out a couple guys here and there. We'll start up at the top with the top two: Andrew Painter, #1 prospect, and then #2 Mick Abel, #2 prospect within the Phillies organization. Painter is now moved on from long toss. He's actually playing full on catch. Previously, he was actually only throwing the ball, wasn't actually receiving the ball. I believe they're up to 90 feet, so making good headway. Obviously, suffered a UCL injury during spring training, mid-March, I believe. They completely shut him down, no throwing for a month. Now he's obviously working his way back in. There's no surgery, which is the big, big thing. People are still saying once he's ready to go, call him up. It's not going to be the plan, unfortunately, for Painter. The original plan before the injury was to start him in Double-A. If he continued to pitch very, very well like he did last year, by mid-May, end of the month, move him up to Triple-A. If he continues to produce there, continue to dominate, call him up when the major league rosters expand in August, September, things that time frame. But right now the plan is whenever he's ready to throw and actually get into a game, he's going to start in Double-A with the Double-A Red and Fighting Phils. And more than likely, he's going to stay in Double-A for the remainder of 2023. Going into next spring, the expectation will probably be to move him up to Triple-A, and then possibly mid-season, late 2024, we'll see him called up to the big leagues for the first time. But for those fans that really, really want to watch Andrew Painter pitch this year, go get to the tickets to the Red and Fighting Phils or the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. He's not going to be called up this year, unfortunately. He's just not going to be ready. He's only 19 years old. The last thing you really want to do is rush that. I can't even remember the word. You don't want to rush his production. They don't want to rush his development. There it is. There's the word. They don't want to rush his development right now. I think I read somewhere pitchers don't really hit their prime until age 28 to 34. It's kind of that prime for a pitcher. He's only 19, so he still has 9 years to go for that. And I really don't want to rush that development. I think I can speak for most fans. I would love to see a pitcher dominate as long as a guy like Verlander, Scherzer, Kershaw, Garrett Cole. I don't want to have a pitcher like Tim Lincecum that has a 4 or 5 year stretch where you're the best pitcher in baseball, but by year 7 you're out of the league just because of injuries and stuff. Throwing out your arm way too quick. So that's kind of my thinking on that. They really don't want to rush his development at all. I wouldn't. Kind of going down, Mick Abel. He's been absolutely lighting up in Double-A. I was apprehensive after his first start, and then starts 2 and 3. I was kind of getting a little bit more relaxed, more understanding, and now he's just completely dominating the game. He's been unhittable, giving up like 2 or 3 hits a game. Started only going 4 innings. Now he's kind of being pushed to 5. I believe he started into the 6th inning in one of his last starts, but they're really pushing his innings, which is really, really nice to see. And he's still showing really good durability through those starts. His velocity in inning 1 versus inning 6 is not big of a change. He's still striking a lot of batters out. He's getting a lot of outs, not walking a lot, not giving up many runs. I don't have the stats right in front of me, but I don't believe he's given up many runs in the last couple games. So some big ones to focus on: Griff McGarry, Phillies #3 prospect. He's gonna be a relief pitcher. Started the year off in Double-A, was put on the development list almost immediately to focus just more on mechanic wise. He's been optioned down to Single-A. Which Single-A team that is, if it's going to be the Jersey Shore or Clearwater, that's kind of undecided right now. But McGarry's headed down to Single-A. How old is he? He's 23. truthfully, if we're gonna be sellers at the deadline or buyers at the deadline this year, McGarry's gonna be a name to keep an eye on as a possible move. Just frankly, he has that upside as a possible value to a team, a rebuilding team in another 3 or 4 years. But right now, the promise is there. He is the number 3 prospect for the team. But realistically, if we're going to be buyers at the deadline this year, McGarry is going to be a name you should keep an eye on as possible as trade bait for this team. So I hope it could have better panned out, but he's 23, still in single A, actually going back from double A to single A. If they're gonna bring in extra pieces, extra pitching for a postseason run again, unfortunately McGarry's gonna be that guy. So keep an eye out for him. Well, all right. Let's stick with single A. Let me tell you, man, the Clearwater Threshers. So we can bring up just some stats on them. They are 22-6 on the year. That's just mind-blowing to me that they're 22-6 on the year. And it's not been just the hitting. The hitting's been phenomenal of guys like Justin Crawford, number 4 prospect, has been absolutely incredible. Gabriel Rocones Jr., if I pronounced that right, he's the Phillies' number 7 prospect. He's been absolutely incredible. So you can bring up some of his stats real quick. All right, let's bring up some stats from Clearwater. What's going on with these guys? I should have had this prepared, but we're going to go a little off script. Individual stats. This is loading. Sorry, never mind. They blew the lead, 21-7. Bums. Poverty franchise. Sell this team. Just kidding. No. Gabriel Rocones leads the team with 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, 19 walks, which is going to be second on the team right behind Otto Kemp. Has a slash line of 261, 414, and 489. He's just been the most he's a power hitter, obviously, but he's been really, really consistent down there. I really like what I've been seeing out of him. Justin Crawford is another guy, obviously the son of Carl Crawford, former MLB All-Star with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays and the Boston Red Sox. I really liked what he's been doing. He's 19. He's still 3 or 4 years away, in my opinion, from getting that call up, unless he just has a massive surge in production. But he started the year off in rookie ball. Got promoted till he's now low A ball with Clearwater. So I'm liking what he's been doing. I'm second on the team with 15 RBIs. He strikes out a decent amount, 16 strikeouts. Really nice on the base path, 11 stolen bases. Only been caught stealing twice. He's batting .315, on base percentage of .383, and slugging percentage of .397. He's not going to be a power hitter per se, kind of like Rocones, but he really is an on base guy and be a really good leadoff second guy in the lineup type of guy deal. So I like Crawford. Cool. I really like Crawford and what he's been able to do it for the club. He's definitely a guy to keep on the name, an eye out for. Unless we're trading for Ohtani at the deadline, I don't think Crawford's going to be part of any trades just because how much real good upsides he have. Even Rocones, he's been really, really good. Let's move over to pitching. That's where Alex McFarland is going to be. A couple other guys have been solid. Let's move over to pitching. Nope. Pitching. Pitching's not loading, but whatever. Pitching has also just been absolutely lights out for Clearwater. A couple guys to focus on for single A. Alex McFarland, 21-year-old, 8th prospect for the Phillies. He's been really, really solid. But the guy that I want to focus on Where is it? Where is it? Here he is. Philly's 21st prospect. I'm gonna try his name. If I don't pronounce this correctly, I am sorry. Orion Kirkering? Orion Kirkering? I don't know. We're gonna go with that. He's appeared in 10 games. He's a relief pitcher, right-handed relief pitcher for the Phils. He's appeared in 10 games. Has not given up a single run all year. Includes 6 saves on the season. Absolutely been really electric. In 10 games to not have an ERA of 0 is really impressive, regardless of who you are, what level you're playing. That's incredible stat. He was just promoted to high A ball, so he went from Clearwater to the Jersey Shore Blue Claws today. He's 22 years old, the Phillies' 21st rated prospect. So keep an eye on him. He's one of the better guys. But I liked him just to see stats like that. Obviously, the Phillies' bullpen has always been a weak link in the last few years. Right now, they have one of the better bullpens in baseball. But looking this like some other guys in the bullpen that are gonna struggle, and are gonna be guys that aren't obviously not gonna be the future. Guys like Kimbrel, mostly just Kimbrel, Matt Stram, even like guys that aren't the future long-term options coming out of the pen. He's definitely a name to keep an eye out for. So he's only 22 right now. Again, like most players, I'm probably say with single A, 3 or 4 years till we're talking about his name at the AAA or a major league level, especially with him as a pitcher. Another guy that got just called up, Caleb Ricketts, a number 26 prospect. I can bring up some of his stats real quick. Hitting. Why isn't this loading? He's 22 years old. Same thing as Kirking. He just got called up to high A ball with the Jersey Shore Blue Claws. He's a catcher. I'm gonna make it very simple. Remember his name because he's the future. Once JT is ready, like I said earlier, JT is going to be phased over to first base at some point in the future. Caleb Ricketts is going to be the replacement for JT Realmuto. Defensively, he's a really good catcher. He's caught about. So you can bring up his stats. It's changed since I last seen it. Why isn't this working? Oh, here we go. His fielding. We'll get there. We will get there, friends. We will get there. Yep. He's 100% success rate catch and steals. Pretty much what I'm trying to say is he's very defensively a very good catcher. Has a really solid arm, good reaction time. He's gonna be the future catcher for the Phillies. Obviously, the big one is gonna be his offense. Looking at some of that, he leads the team with 22 RBIs, has a slash line of 379, 402, 552. Let's see where these line up. He led the Clearwater in average. He was 5th in on base percentage and led the team in slugging percentage to 2 out of 3 in his slash line. He led the team. Obviously, well deserved for that call up. And honestly, the way looking at some of the catchers in AA and AAA, it will if he can continue playing at a high level for the Jersey Shore Blue Claws. I see no reason why he's not a red and fighting Phil by the end of the season. And honestly, call me crazy. I don't see a reason why he's not an Iron Pig by the end of the year. It sucks. He could be a possible trade bait just because JT's not ready. He's still going strong. But right now, Caleb Ricketts is a name you need to keep an eye on. Could be a solid backup. Garrett Stubbs probably is going to be eventually moved on to another team. He's a solid young catcher. But Caleb Ricketts is a guy you need to keep an eye on for that club. But we'll just kind of keep going on to some other stuff. other big news within the club. Oh, here's some big. So Phillies had three rehab players on rehab assignments on Sunday. Ranger Suarez was in AAA. He finished his time in the minors fairly solid. I think he went about 9 innings, about 8, 9 strikeouts, 2 earned runs, a couple walks here and there, a few hits. Really solid performance. Everyone's kind of getting upset that he took 4 rehab assignments when he never had surgery. Big thing which people need to realize is he never pitched for Team Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic. During a scrimmage is when he started to feel the pain. That's when they pulled him from the team. So I think these starts were more of like his spring training. This was getting him ready to pitch in the Major League Baseball. I don't think it would have been great for his second, third time pitching in a game to be a Major League game. So pitching in the minor leagues, I think, was a solid thing for him. And he's pitching well, so he should be rejoining the team sometime this week. It is reported that Stram is going to remain in the rotation. Bailey Falter is going to be moved. If Bailey Falter is moving AAA to the bullpen, that has been undecided yet. They haven't announced the move to make Ranger to the club. So curious where that goes next. I assume that the Phillies would announce that move in the next couple of days or so. But Ranger Suarez, I think on ESPN they announced every starter except for one in the next 7, 8 games. That's this Saturday against the Giants was left blank. My guess is that's going to be Ranger Suarez. But don't quote me on that, just a guess, and I'm never wrong. And when I'm wrong, we refer to Rule 1 when I'm never wrong. Second guy was Nick Nelson. Started the year off on the IL. Pitched very, very well in Single A Clearwater for his rehab assignments. Was just recently called up to AA Reading. Was lights out. Gave up no hits in his one start. Went 3, 4 innings. Really, really solid. He's been now recalled up to AAA. My guess is to take Ranger Suarez's place. I'm not sure what his game is next. Let's check if they've announced that. Not sure if Lehigh Valley's announced it. Yep. So he's going to pitch today, Wednesday. He's pitching Friday. So Nick Nelson will be pitching a rehab assignment Friday, 7:05 against the Memphis Redbirds, affiliate of the St. Louis Cardinals. So Nick Nelson's going to be making his AAA debut this week. I assume I would guess he's going to do similar to what Suarez and what he's done at each of a level. He'll probably pitch 2 games. He'll have another game next week, wherever that is. But we'll see what happens with that. And then the last one was Andrew Bellotti. He went on the IL a few weeks ago. Actually, not a few weeks, a week or so ago, won the 15-day IL. He pitched in Single A Clearwater, fairly solid in his Clearwater debut. So another name to keep an eye on. I sucked to see him go down. He was pitching fairly solid, coming from the pen, but he did fairly well in Clearwater. So I think, unfortunately, we have 3 straight pitchers in the minor leagues. My guess is Bellotti's going to be optioned up to AA if he's comfortable, if he's fully healthy. And then once Nick Nelson goes back to back to the MLB, we can move Nelson up to AAA. Once Nelson's ready to go, we can fully option either Hoffman, Yunior Marte, whichever one of those AAA relievers is sitting in our bullpen right now. I believe it's Jake Hoffman, who's currently that guy. We can put them back in AAA where they kind of belong and are able to work a little bit better. But we'll just keep going through some of the other moves. Yesterday, Phillies traded right-handed pitcher James MacArthur to the Royals for 19-year-old Junior Marin and cash considerations. A little bit about MacArthur before we get to Marin, because I have a lot to say about him. MacArthur he struggled this year, 0 for 1. Was designated for assignment by the Phillies earlier last week. Ultimately, it's not going to work out for him. He's a fairly young pitcher, had had some glimpses where he looked like a really solid pitcher, but ultimately the grand scheme of things just wasn't a good fit. Hopefully he goes to KC and kind of resurrect his career just a little bit, but could be a good place for him. I think the Phillies absolutely fleeced the Royals in this trade. The fact that we gave up MacArthur, who was going to be released or um, prior to the end of the season, to get a guy like Marin, who last year was in rookie ball for the Royals, had a slash line of 315, 379, 413. Oh, man. Yeah, I think the Phillies just absolutely fleeced them on this trade. Obviously, a lot of upside to him. He is an outfielder. Looking at the Phillies outfield right now, besides Marsh, Castellanos, and Schwarber, they are in their 30s. Harper's obviously even in his 30s. These are definitely guys for the future. Have a guy like Marsh, Pache, and Marin. If Marin, turns out to be a much better player than what we expect him to be, I'm really excited for him. Get him down in Clearwater. He's obviously going to be joining a lineup that's really, really, really hot. Different guys like Justin Crawford's down there. Ho Yin Yun. I think pronounced his name right. Hao Yu Lee, Phillies fifth rated prospect. He's in Double-A right now, second baseman. Another possible trade guy because we have Bryson Stott at second base. But I'm really excited to see him play. Obviously don't know. Ooh, I almost exited out. Obviously don't know a lot about him. He's a young guy, but looking at what he's been able to do so far, I'm excited to see him progress throughout our farm system. So let's keep going. Some other news. This is boring. Nick Nelson again continues. So Nick Nelson, Double-A Reading this week, 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 5 strikeouts. He's up to Triple-A right now. Angel Bellotti, 1 inning, 2 strikeouts, 1 hit, 1 walk, no earned runs. And then Ranger in 3 rehab starts, 1 in Double-A, 2 in Triple-A, 9 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts. So Suarez essentially got a full game of pitching in between 3 starts. Excited to see him kind of keep progressing. Let's see what else we got going. I think there was a couple other moves. What else we got? Man, I had some other news in here that I knew I wanted to talk about. Here's the one. So the Iron Pigs have traded Nick Alligayer to the Houston Astros for cash. Alligayer was 0 for 1, 4.35 ERA in AAA Lehigh Valley this year. Ultimately, just wasn't cutting it. Get cash considerations for him is a really, really good move. Didn't really work. Well, I saw him pitch once. I think it was the second game I went to when I was covering the Iron Pigs. Ultimately, just kind of like all Phillies, he gets rattled very easily. Unfortunately, I think he walked or gave up a hit to the first batter, and ultimately it was just downhill from there. He gave up 4 runs in the first inning, and ultimately that 4 runs cost him the game. The bullpen was able to lock it down, but the offense was only able to put up 3. So, unfortunately, it wasn't a huge loss for the club, but unfortunately, it had to be done. I hate to do it to the stupid asterisks, but let's see what else we got going on with the fighting Phils. I mentioned Bryce Harper's back. Bryce Harper, I'll tell you, is playing really, really good baseball. I was really, really apprehensive with him, not taking any rehab starts and just essentially doing simulated games and taking BP. But man, he's been playing absolutely phenomenal. Unfortunately, it's been overlooked by just a horrible play around him. In the second game, he had 5 at bats and reached base in all 5 at bats, 3 hits, 2 walks. You don't see that type of production out of a player returning from a surgery, let alone a Tommy John surgery. So I'm excited just to see him continue to progress. I'm curious what it's going to be like at first base for him. I'm sure it's been a position he's played in the past. but it's obviously much different up in the MLB. So I'm curious what that's going to look like for him, but I'm excited to see him play a little bit more, and just what he's able to do for that club. So I was, again, like I said, super apprehensive with him not taking any rehab assignments. A little selfishly, I wanted him to play a rehab assignment in AAA so I can go watch the game. But unfortunately, he's not going to be doing that. But no love lost there. He's been playing really, really good ball so far. I'm just going to keep him in that lineup and help them progress from here on out. So we're not going to have a much longer show tonight. Just kind of wrap it up. Got a big basketball game on. And did I just miss a big ass inning? I missed some innings. So Marsh doubled to center. Guthrie scored. Rumio 2 scored. Bowman to third. And then Stock grounded fielder's choice. Look, we're up 8-4, top 9 against the Toronto Blue Jays, a really, really good Blue Jays team. Look, the Phillies had a really tough stretch of games for the last couple of weeks. You have the Mariners, who are one of the best. The Mariners right now, let's look up their record. Mariners are 17-18. A really, really good young team. Has some really good hitters. Teoscar Hernandez, Julio Rodriguez, J.P. Crawford, some really solid young pitchers. Then you had to took 2 or 3 from them. Took 2 or 3 from the Astros. Yeah, okay. Astros are 17-18. They're missing a couple guys here and there, but still the defending World Series champs. Obviously, I want to beat them in November, not in May. Or, yeah, it was still May. No, it wasn't. It was April, technically. But, to take 2 or 3 from them is a really, really good thing for the team. But look, we lost to the Dodgers. You're 21-15 this year. They're marching their way to another division title. They're marching on their way to be another World Series contender once again. Obviously, I would much rather get this series out of the way now. This is not a series I would want to have in mid to late August, early September, when the playoffs are right around the corner. At least now we got this series out of the way. We get the harder teams out of the way. We'll play them one more time when they come to Philly. That's kind of a better time when we get to more understand this team. And even the same thing with the Red Sox, man. They're a really, really good team. A lot of really good young hitters, really good pitching. To lose 1 of 2, or to go 1 and 2 against them, obviously I would love to go out 2-1. But to avoid back-to-back sweeps, I think was really, really big. And I think that Sunday afternoon win, it was great for the club. We understood that anything is possible. So right now we're up 8-4 on top of the 9th against the Toronto Blue Jays, who are 21-14, third in the AL East. That's how good the AL East is. The Yankees are 19-17 in last place. AL East is really, really good this year. But the Blue Jays, the fact that we're, no matter what, going to split the series with them, it's only a 2-game series, and we can, they're 21-14. That would, if they were in the NL Central, they'd be leading the NL Central. They'd be tied first in the NL West. They'd be leading the NL Central, and they would be leading the NL West. So they'd be leading almost any other division besides the AL East. So it just shows you how good the AL East is. I believe we'll see the Tampa Bay Rays right before the All-Star break. And then more than likely, they haven't announced the second half schedule yet, but we'll see the Baltimore Orioles in that second half schedule. I'm happy to get 4 of the 5 teams from the AL East out of the way now. I'd much rather have an easy second half of the schedule. We've had a tough schedule. We still have 2 series each against the Braves and the Mets before the All-Star break. But most notably, we've yet to play the Nationals. We've yet to play the Cardinals. We've yet to play the Giants. We're going to finish our series with the Rockies this week. That's going to be a nice series to get over. But we obviously haven't played the Athletics. We haven't played the Royals yet. And we've had some lower-end teams in the White Sox. We've already played the Reds. We've already played the Rockies once. But we still have a lot of the lower-end teams to play still. Obviously, all those games against the Nationals still. A lot of games against the Marlins still. So, I'm glad to get these tougher teams out of the way, give us a good sense of where we're at, and then we can make the adjustments. So when we play these lower-end teams, we can rack up some more wins, kind of like we did last year, and then we can move on and make another run to the playoffs. But as always, on Tuesdays is Phrankly Phils. The Phillies are about to be, can I get confirmation? 1 out away from winning back-to-back games and extending the win streak on Tuesday nights, because the Phillies never lose when Phrankly Phils airs. They just never do. And when they lose, we don't count those. We don't count those losses. They only count them when I don't care. But super fun show as always. Make sure you tune in to everybody else on AAT Sports. Monday, you got Across the Pitch about the Philadelphia Union with those lads. Wednesday, you got all about the Birds Weekly Report with Kendall and Johnny and Chipper. YouTube exclusive with Jeff and Peanut, Birds, Beers, and BS. But on Tuesdays, it is all about the Phillies here at AAT Sports. But as always, I'm your host, Adam Mack. Check me out on Twitter, MackAdam19. All the news on Phillies minor leagues. Just a lot of fun. Just want to come talk some baseball. If you want to hop on as a guest, join the fun. I'm always down to talk some baseball with anybody. But love you all as always. See you all next week, and